This 39 Dunedin News Bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Tonight on 39 Dunedin News, the Mayor and Chief Executive front up over more investigations of fraud at the Dunedin City Council. Protesters target a Dunedin MP demanding better health and safety laws for the workplace. And residents call for urgent action as the Sinclair sand dunes continue to erode. Good evening, Dunedin. I'm Callum Proctor. The discovery of further fraud at the City Council is revealing another weakness within the organisation. There's an exploit in computer software used by the Council and many others around the country. But staff say the problem's being fixed as fresh cases of fraud and theft are investigated in the wake of the City Fleet scandal.
More fraud is being revealed at the DCC, with another 5 cases uncovered in the past 18 months, following the $1.5 million City Fleet scandal. Already one employee's been dismissed and another disciplined, while others no longer work at City Hall.
Relatively small amounts, certainly compared to the City Fleet fraud, relatively small amounts. The largest of which, $8,000, that's been through the courts and prosecutions followed.
Although the incidents are bad news, Bidrose says most of the cases have come to light through staff whistleblowing, and that shows efforts to make staff more vigilant against theft and fraud are working. Ongoing fraud awareness training has also highlighted an exploit in council computer software. Bidrose says it's already being fixed, and she's happy to see staff taking a zero-tolerance approach to such avenues that could be taken advantage of.
We've really tightened up our approach to gifts and taking free tickets, taking free hospitality. We don't take perks, and so there's not a grey area. You can get given a scone, but not much more, frankly.
Mayor Dave Carl says the new revelations prove council processes to detect fraud and theft are working, and he hopes that'll prevent large-scale incidents like the City Fleet fraud from happening again.
But I think with the new protocols and systems in place, it would probably be very, very difficult to mount a fraud like the one we had at City Fleet.
Bidrose admits the latest incidents are damaging for the council and its staff, and she hopes attempts to enforce zero tolerance mean they won't be repeated. David DeLorean, 39 Dunedin News.
Snow and ice are still causing problems for residents following the weekend's polar blast. Many hill suburbs are still blanketed in snow. Bus routes have been affected and most schools opened late this morning so pupils could get to class safely. The Northern Motorway has been closed due to snow and ice, and although it's now open, motorists are being urged to be careful. Several crashes occurred around the region over the weekend as a result of the weather, and some people remain in hospital. In total, 11 people were injured on Otago roads. Flights have been affected at Dunedin and Queenstown airports, causing problems for many travellers, and the temperatures are expected to remain low throughout the week. Well, local protesters are calling for legislative change with a vigil outside the office of National MP Michael Woodhouse. They say he's responsible for watering down workplace health and safety laws, and they want the government to do better.
A small group delivering a big message. Unions Otago members stake out the Princess Street office of Michael Woodhouse, the Minister of Workplace Relations and Safety, voicing concern over his proposed changes to health and safety legislation. As vigil convener Fiona Matapo says, not enough's being done to protect workers.
The health and safety legislation has fallen short of putting workers first. And we have a shocking record of work-related deaths here in New Zealand.
Since the mine disaster in 2010, there have been 290 work-related deaths in New Zealand. A shameful statistic, according to Judith Trevathan. She lost her uncle Robert King more than 10 years ago in a Dunedin workplace accident. And now she's leading this vigil in the hope further deaths can be avoided.
The Health and Safety Act is there to protect the employer as well as the employees. There's no reason today that you go to work and you're killed on the job because you're doing your job.
National's proposed changes include an exemption for small businesses, meaning those with fewer than 20 employees wouldn't be required to elect health and safety representatives. Matapo says that puts workers' lives at risk, and she wants the legislation to do more.
Put health and safety first. Ensure that every New Zealander who goes to work comes home from work. We need to address this shocking statistic, and we need to address the ongoing issues around health and safety, and he needs to rethink the legislation to ensure that it is inclusive.
She wants blanket coverage for all workers regardless of the size of operations or the type of work undertaken. She says Unions Otago has twice reached out to Woodhouse's office and is still awaiting a response. Meanwhile, the bill is before Parliament. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
And the Minister's office has refuted claims health and safety laws are being watered down, with Woodhouse confident the government's moving in the right direction. Well, police are investigating the attempted theft of a motorcycle from Midway Motors in Kaikorai Valley Road. CCTV footage shows a man smashing a window to enter the store just before 9 on Friday night. Police have yet to look through all the footage but say the offender tried to get a motorcycle through the window. That attempt failed and the would-be thief retreated without any loot. Police have only just received the CCTV footage and are reviewing it to identify the offender. As yet, no one's been arrested in relation to the incident. Dramatic erosion at St Clair is causing residents to call on city councillors. One man's urging the council to fast-track recommended measures for reinforcing the sand dune. And he says the cost is justified.
St Clair's been getting a pounding in the last 6 weeks. Heavy seas washing away much of the sand, exposing underlying rock and causing the sand dunes to deteriorate. It's a concern for many residents, including Bill Brown, who's just fronted up to the City Council.
Well, what's prompted me is just the sheer speed and the extent of the erosion in Section 2, which is the area from the St Clair Surf Club to the Scout Hall.
He says it's the worst erosion he's ever seen at St Clair, and his concerns are shared by many seaside residents who have lived in the area for decades. Brown says the council commissioned 2 reports on the issue in 2010 and 2011.
Both of which refer to a permanent wall, either as a buried backstop or a stone revetment.
It was recommended that work happen within a decade, subject to monitoring, and Brown says the council's waited long enough.
Council have adopted the recommendation in that they have a 10-year period to wait and see, but 5 years of that is gone, and we've got this incident which is strongly suggesting that they need to get onto that work immediately.
He's confident the council will be proactive on the issue and says the work's justified, whatever the cost.
If you look at what those sand dunes are protecting, it's protecting the whole of South Dunedin, which of course is just essential that we protect those areas and give people the confidence and security that where they're living is where they'll continue to live for many, many more decades.
City councillors are keen to work with their regional counterparts at the ORC to discuss a solution, which residents hope will come before the next big storm. Rosie Mannins, 39, Dunedin News.
Still to come on 39 Dunedin News, we have the details of a study looking into how teenagers get to and from school. And later, locals shine in the South Island Rhythmic Gymnastics Champs held here over the weekend.
A lifestyler, to me, as a person, maybe wanting to escape the hustle and bustle of a big city. Wanting some animals, maybe able to grow their own veggies, have chickens, get their own hens. A lifestyle block can be your supermarket. Just a good way of living, and a lot of people enjoy that rather than being in a city. A very sustainable way to live.
Wake up time And another frantic day ahead for Haraway's oat singles. With 3 delicious flavours in each pack, they don't last long with this family. They're so convenient and tasty, and they're ready in seconds. Haraway's oat singles are the ideal breakfast or snack on the run for today's busy families. And there's a flavour to suit everyone. Beat the rush and make sure you get your favourite flavour. Haraway's oat singles. Try new Kiwi Favourites Caramel Variety Pack.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
Are you within your legal rights to take one life in order to save another? Welcome to the ambiguities of law. Because whilst the law may be clear, there is still room for both yes and no.
What? No!
The decision will depend on logical thinking and the art of argument. And this is what we learn at New Zealand's first and world-renowned law faculty.
You can stop now!
I'm Latafale, and this is my place in the world.
Take your place in the world.
Active Furnishers Limited, home of quality service with superior product and an in-house design team who are always happy to advise and create an imaginative solution for you. Active Furnishers Limited, part of Dunedin's design history.
Hedges are something we almost take for granted. A good hedge needs regular maintenance to look its best and to add value and character to your property. For all your hedge care needs, call the team at SGC Services on 0800 783 453.
Discover New Zealand's most innovative museum, Toitu Otago Settlers Museum. 14 stunning galleries, 3 distinct architectural styles, and 1 million intriguing stories are yours to discover at Toitu Otago Settlers Museum. Open daily next to Dunedin Railway Station and with free admission. Toitu Otago Settlers Museum.
Big Orange for all your movies, records, books and games. Pre-loved needs and vinyl records, 45s, DVDs. A South Dunedin family-owned business for over 15 years. Check us out on Facebook, opposite Westpac on the sunny side of King Edward Street.
For 30 years, Southern Clams have harvested New Zealand littleneck clams in the coastal waters of Otago. Hand harvesting to order at the right place and time ensures perfection of every clam you eat. New Zealand littleneck clams, harvested for you by Southern Clams.
Welcome back. The City Council's seeking to retrieve more than $7,000 in unpaid consent fees. Locals involved in 4 different consent applications have failed to pay the full amount billed by the council. A hearing's being held next Monday for each case to be considered. One involves the creation of industrial sites in Burnside. Another relates to the subdivision of a Tanner Road section. Almost half the money owed is for a Kaikorai Valley Road development. The other case involves breaches of consent conditions at an Arthur Street property. A new study is being conducted around the transportation of teenagers to and from school. It also assesses their physical activity and built environment. Debbie Hopkins is one of the investigators for the BEATS study, and she joins us now to talk about it. Good evening, Debbie.
Good evening.
So first of all, BEATS, what does that stand for?
So BEATS stands for Built Environment and Active Transport to School.
Oh, that makes sense. How is the study being conducted?
So the study is led by Dr. Sandra Mandic, who is from the School of Physical Education, Sport and Exercise Sciences at the University of Otago. And it's a really nice collaboration between researchers at the university, the Dunedin City Council and the Dunedin Secondary Schools Partnership. And through this collaboration, we've got 100% school recruitment in Dunedin. So we're going into 12 Dunedin high schools and conducting a survey with the high school students. We're also running focus groups with the school students, focus groups with teachers, parents, and interviews with the school principals.
So why research this topic?
Well, it's a really important and very interesting research area. Declining rates of physical activity and increasingly sedentary lifestyles amongst adolescents are a global health concern, and active transport to school is one way that we can increase physical activity levels, but with just their everyday practices. But unfortunately, we're seeing declining rates of active transport to school. If I remember when I was young, walking and cycling to school was the norm, and nowadays we're seeing that young people are relying more and more on motorised forms of transport.
So how many local teenagers are being surveyed here?
Well, in the last 18 months, we've surveyed over 1,700 high school students, and a number of those have also been involved in the focus groups.
So what do you hope to do with these findings?
Well, the research will really identify what some of the barriers are to using active transport modes for these young people. And what we will then do is try and design interventions to try and remove some of those barriers and hopefully increase the uptake of active transport modes with flow-on health benefits.
Have you noticed any trends already in this research?
Well, what we've found so far is about half of all high school students are getting driven to school, under a third walk to school, and very, very few cycle to school.
So are you surprised by this, or is this what you were expecting?
I think it's surprising, but not unexpected, if that makes sense. I think that we would like to see some difference there. We would like it that more people were walking and cycling to school, but unfortunately this does follow the global trend.
Is this a first for Dunedin? Has this been done before here, this type of study?
No, it's a new study. It's also very novel overseas. So it's the first time that it's been run in Dunedin, but the comprehensiveness of the study, the fact that we've got this partnership that's going across local council and researchers, and that we have cross-disciplinary research. So I'm from the Centre for Sustainability. We also have researchers from the School of Surveying and the Marketing Department. So there's a range of people coming together with different perspectives on this. And the fact that we're speaking to parents, to students, to teachers and to school principals is quite unique.
How can residents participate?
Well, we're moving into a really exciting phase of the study now. So we've spoken to 1,700 young people. Now we really want to speak to their parents or caregivers, because we understand that they're a really important part of the transport to school decision-making process. So we would invite parents of Dunedin High School students to get in touch with us, to participate in this study and provide us with their perspectives on how their children travel to school. And they can do this by looking at the University of Otago website. There's a BEAT study webpage there, so that's www.otago.ac.nz/BEATS, BEATS.
All right, Debbie, thanks for your time this morning. Good luck with the study.
Thank you very much.
Okay, after the break on 39 Dunedin News, the South Island champs for both rhythmic gymnastics and the sport of boccia were here at the weekend, and we have details of more frosty weather on its way.
Sir Bob Charles, New Zealand's greatest golfer and still going strong.
I'm sure that Sportsville was a contributing factor to my success, and I'll continue to use it.
Sir Bob Charles Sportsville, a product so good he puts his name to it.
Well, I believe Sportsville helps maintain your quality of life.
Now being used by active men and women globally to support strength and mobility.
It works for me.
Sir Bob Charles Sportsville in the new all-black pack. Call now for the Sportsville special. 0800 502 402.
To the people we meet on southern skies. Take your place, take your place, take your place in the world. Take your place, take your place, take your place in the world.
Active Furnishers Limited, home of quality service with superior product and an in-house design team who are always happy to advise and create an imaginative solution for you. Active Furnishers Limited, part of Dunedin's design history.
Moving around the corner, overseas, Best Removals Otago Limited, specialists in household removals and business relocations, as well as packing materials, secure storage. Best Removals can do it all. 0800 266 834.
Sweet dreams. Sweet dreams.
Big Orange for all your movies, records, books and games. Pre-loved needs and vinyl records, 45s, DVDs. A South Dunedin family-owned business for over 15 years. Check us out on Facebook, opposite Westpac on the sunny side of King Edward Street.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
Pregnant? Need to talk? 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Pregnancy counselling services are here to help. It's free, it's confidential. Call us now on 0800 773 462.
Oh, lifestyler can be anybody. We look at a lifestyler as someone who perhaps has been a farmer and is retiring into a smaller block. It could be someone who's working here in Dunedin and has a few acres at home. Could be mum and the kids with the pony on an acre. You know, it's anyone that's got a little bit of land rather than just the quarter-acre section.
Tune into Girls Talk on Dunedin Television, where we show you what's hot in Dunedin.
All right, more than 150 of the country's finest gymnasts strutted their stuff in Dunedin over the weekend. They gathered locally for this year's South Island Rhythmic Gymnastics Championship. And while entrants came from far and wide, it was the local contingent that rose to the occasion.
Twirling their way to victory. Young gymnasts from around the country compete at the annual South Island Rhythmic Gymnastics Championship. It's one of the biggest events on the national gymnastic calendar, spanning 2 days of competition. And senior coach Luciana Blaga from the Dunedin Gymnastics Academy says the locals are showing everyone how it's done.
We had gymnasts in every single level, and most of them from level 4 up are qualified for a national championship.
A sizable crowd gathered at the Caledonian Gymnasium to support competitors and watch the contest unfold. But for the gymnasts on the floor, their focus remained firmly on impressing the panel of judges.
They assist based on their execution, on their performance, on the choreography of the routine and handling of the apparatus.
Just one local gymnast entered the international grade, but many of the city's younger competitors vied for age grade victory. And Blaga says the sport's gaining popularity in Dunedin.
There are 2 clubs in Dunedin, Greater Green Island and Dunedin Gymnastics Academy, and we have steady numbers for the population of Dunedin. We think we're doing quite well.
She says competitors train up to 15 hours a week in the lead up to this event to ensure they're fully prepared. And she says while the sport requires a lot of commitment, it's a great way for young people to enhance their athletic ability.
They get to do a physical, very physical engaging sport. It looks easy, but it's not. It combines flexibility with the love of music, performing, and obviously coordination of the apparatus.
There were plenty of medals on the line, but these girls are after more than gold and silver, hoping for a spot at the National Championships in Auckland later this year. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
A local man's secured a class victory in the South Island Boccia Championships. The tournament's been held at a local school over the weekend, and it's showing off the sporting opportunities available to residents with disabilities.
Gunning for victory. Competition ramps up at the South Island Boccia Championships. More than a dozen players from as far as Queenstown and Invercargill took part in the tournament, and organisers say their efforts have shown how great boccia is as a sport for people with disabilities.
The reason I've been involved in the sport for a long, long time, because it's about competition. It's not being about nice to the person with a disability, it's about winning. So for me, this sport is superb. It offers people with a disability, with cerebral palsy in particular, the ability to travel the world.
Coffey says people with cerebral palsy make up a large chunk of the boccia player base. The game itself is similar to bowls and has even scored the same, with differences in how players take turns. 18 players registered for this year's tournament, and although icy weather meant some couldn't make it, Coffey says there's been plenty of tactics and skill on display.
You definitely have to be able to throw a softball down the range, and you've got to be accurate with it. But after that, there's a bit of chess going on. You might not throw the ball where someone will think, well, that's not quite in the right place, but then you've put that ball so you can bounce off that ball and use it again.
Coffey says high-level play can result in multiple balls hitting their intended target, and that makes judging a tough process.
You're out with torches looking for gaps. You're using bits of paper to check it. You're using feeler gauges to do that thing. You know, so yeah, but it's a very competitive sport.
Canterbury players had a good run in the tournament, securing multiple class victories. But Otago man Hank Dykstra secured a win for locals. Organisers are celebrating the tournament's turnout too, as the biggest local event in about 7 years. Another win for the small but dedicated boccia fan base that calls Dunedin home. David DeLorean, 39 Dunedin News.
Now recapping tonight's top stories on 39 Dunedin News. More cases of fraud are being uncovered at the City Council, and the process is highlighting a problem with its computer software. Protesters gather outside the office of local MP Michael Woodhouse in opposition to his proposed workplace health and safety laws. And a dramatic erosion at St Clair's prompting concerned residents to call on city councillors and implement a solution immediately. Now let's take a look at what's happening in tomorrow's ODT. Dave Cannon's here. Good evening.
G'day, Callum. How are you? We're having a closer look at that sand erosion problem at St Clair tomorrow. Obviously, it's a pretty big issue, and obviously the concerns are mounting. And there's also some issues there for Kettle Park, for the Dunedin Rugby Club's grounds as well, with sand. And we've got a lot of coverage of the icy roads this morning that caused quite a bit of chaos around Dunedin as well.
Yes, they did. All right, tomorrow's ODT. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
All right, time now for a look at local weather.
This local weather report proudly brought to you in association with Silberhorn Sportsville.
And we start with today's City View, looking through a central city window at First Church. All right, 3 p.m. temperatures, 9 in the central city and on the Taieri, 10 at the Gardens at 3 o'clock today. Situation, this anticyclone spreads over the country tomorrow while a depression is deepening in the Tasman Sea. That'll arrive later in the week. To the forecast for the main towns in the lower South Island tomorrow, fine for all of these towns with just light winds. Queenstown tomorrow, a high of 9. Fine for Oamaru as well, just getting to double figures, and fine for Wanaka and Twizel. In Dunedin tonight, fine with just a gentle breeze, freezing, the low is 0, so a frosty morning again tomorrow with fine weather, the frost's severe in sheltered places. Wednesday, fine morning frosts again, and highs of 8 over the next 2 days. Finally, to the Southern Clams tidal and fishing information. Low tide is just after 7:30 tomorrow morning, followed by high tide 1:20. Fishing rated good tomorrow, best at around 9:45 tomorrow morning. That's our news for this Monday. On behalf of the 39 Dunedin News team, good night.
This 39 Dunedin News Bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.